Tonight, we journey to a place that once existed, but only in whispers, a hidden garden. Behind crumbling stone walls, beneath an old castle that no longer stands. Our story begins there. Our story tonight begins in a forgotten corner of the medieval world where time ticked not by clocks, but by the slow turning of stars. Behind Elbrook Castle, tucked where ivy climbed thickest and wind dared not pass, there lay a secret courtyard and in it a garden. This garden did not grow like others. Its soil had been mixed by hand centuries ago, layered with volcanic ash, powdered quartz, and the dust of forgotten scrolls, and tending to it was a sleepy alchemist. His name was Emmerich. He wore robes the color of faded parchment, soft from years of washing, and smelled faintly of beeswax and mint. Emmerich would slip away from the library and tiptoe down a mossy path, candle lantern swaying gently in hand every evening. After the last bell tolled from the chapel tower, his steps were always slow, not from age but reverence, for he believed like many in his time that some plants dreamed while they grew, and if he disturbed them too quickly, they might forget what they were meant to become. The sleepy garden was full of quiet magic. Tall stalks of valerian swayed under the moonlight, their feathery heads nodding in invisible wind. Chamomile blossoms like tiny suns curled into sleep, the scent sweet and grounding. And vervain, precious vervain, with violet whispers for petals, hummed faintly in the stillness. Emmerich often said vervain held the memory of dreams. He would whisper to it gently, so it wouldn't get lonely in the night. A tiny fountain burbled in the corner, its basin carved from river stone, fed by an underground spring that had never once frozen, even in winter's breath. Emmerich swore it sang to him. On calm nights like this one, if you listen closely enough, you might believe it too. Tonight, Emmerich had come to make a tincture, not one to be sold or studied, but one to soothe a mind that carried too much thought. He had always said the mind, like a bell, could only ring clearly when not weighed down with rust. So tonight's mixture would be one for clarity and quiet. He knelt beside the valerian first. "Thank you," he whispered, brushing the petals with 2 fingers as soft as shadows. He plucked a few, humming gently as he went. In medieval times, monks and apothecaries believed valerian could not only ease sleep but calm trembling hearts. Emmerich believed that too. Next was chamomile, gathered just as the flowers began to nod. The trick, he'd always say, was to pick them when they were half asleep, so the tincture would dream with you. He moved slowly to the vervain. Unlike the others, he did not pick this one. He only placed his hand over the plant and let it rest there, feeling its warmth, its quiet strength. You see, vervain was sacred in many medieval places, used in rites worn by knights, burned by healers, but Emmerich believed it best left untouched. It was the guardian of the garden. With his herbs gathered, Emmerich returned to a small wooden table nestled under a willow tree. The table had 3 legs, one short, causing it to lean, but Emmerich never corrected it. He said the tilt made the moonlight fall just right. He lit a beeswax candle in the center, and its flame flickered like a slow heartbeat. Then he reached for his mortar and pestle. Stone on stone, soft, circular, a soothing scrape. He ground the herbs with a rhythm that matched the bubbling of the fountain, slow, steady, patient, the air filled with the scent of sleep. Warm earth, crushed flowers, a hint of rain and stone. He added spring water from the fountain, drop by drop. Each drop sounded like a soft bell in the stillness, tink, 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 until the mixture swirled like a sleepy cloud in the vial. He corked it gently and held it up to the moon. "Not for tonight," he whispered. "Tonight, we only rest." And with that, he leaned back in his wooden chair, hands in his lap, and listened to the fountain song, to the wind brushing leaves like fingers through hair, to the silence between stars, and to the garden. Always the garden. His eyes closed, not from exhaustion, but from trust. The plants would finish their dreaming. The tincture would be ready by morning, and the world would be a little quieter, a little softer, just like now, just like you, like willow branches over water. Breathe in, breathe out, let your thoughts sway gently, let your breath become slow, and your eyes heavier, as the alchemist sleeps beneath the stars in his garden that dreams. By the time the stars had slid across the velvet sky, the air had grown cooler. Dew kissed the petals, and the garden shimmered with a hush as though it too had slipped into dreaming. Inside the little wooden hut tucked at the far end of the courtyard, no bigger than a stable stall, Emmerich's small cot waited beneath a quilt stitched with lunar phases. He had made the quilt himself years ago with cloth gifted by a traveling weaver. It smelled faintly of lavender and soot. He curled beneath it now, the tincture bottle placed on the windowsill beside a clay statue of a winged hare as guardian of sleep. Some nights Emmerich would recite gentle verses to the hare before bed, verses monks once used to lull anxious hearts. Bright be the moonlight, sweet be the earth, let sleep be your lantern and dreams find their birth. Tonight, however, the quiet was enough, kind of quiet that wrapped itself around you like a shawl, tugging softly until you too began to sink. Beyond the garden, the world still spun. Peasants hauled water, guards changed shifts, dogs barked at foxes in the orchard. But within these walls, time had slowed to a sigh, and somewhere in the deep of the night, as Emmerich breathed slow and even, the tincture pulsed softly in its vial, just once, a shimmer, as if it too had fallen asleep. The medieval alchemists often believed that herbs held memories, that the leaves remembered sunlight, that roots remembered frost, and that when combined at just the right moment, they whispered those memories back to the one who sipped them. So when morning's blush crept over the mountains and a single bird called sleepily from the elm, Emmerich stirred, not startled. Just gently, like a page being turned, he rose barefoot on the stone floor and stretched. In the garden, the valerian stood taller, the chamomile glowed faintly golden. The vervain, it shimmered as though kissed by stardust. He nodded in thanks, then with slow hands, he lifted the tincture. This vial, he thought, would go to the boy who cried in his sleep, or the baker's wife, who hadn't dreamt since spring. He'd give it freely, because in Emmerich's world, peace was meant to be shared. As he stepped into the early light, birds beginning to gossip above, Emmerich whispered once more, "Thank you, garden, for dreaming with me." And the breeze, ever so gently, rustled the willow and replied, "Sleep well, dear listener. May your thoughts grow quiet. May your breath become soft, and may your dreams find their